started. We got 2 members on the way. You'll be here shortly, but we'll cover some of the smaller discussion items first. This time I'll turn it over to Chuck.
All right, thank you. Glad to see everybody here. We'll be starting with the consent agenda, just to see if anybody has any questions on any of those items before we move on. All right.
I do have one question. Mm-hmm. On the copier lease agreement, and I know we do those by school, would it be worthwhile, and I don't know who I direct this to, for us to check on doing the leases through the central office for all schools?
Do it like one blanket.
Would that
give us any better rates or not? I don't know. And save each school the aggravation of doing that if we had just one bulk.
I think everybody's got different types. It's an issue with not the same model or same brand.
I don't know if it would be beneficial or not.
Who pays the lease on those?
The schools.
Individual does.
So,
They won't control it.
you didn't direct this to me, but I'll just answer for you. We have several different vendors that provide copiers to our schools. A majority of our schools have RICO now because they don't charge per copy. It's just a fee that you pay a month and unlimited copies, which has been very beneficial for our schools. The only problem with putting it all on one is they all have different times, and you can see that they're coming to you each month as different schools. So everybody's lease ends at a different time. Now, we could look at going on month to month to get them kind of packaged together. If we were to do that at the district level, that would be a bid process. We'd have to go through purchasing to do it. As we have it now, that doesn't go through purchasing because it's not district funds, and it's not a total overall dollar amount. So that would kind of complicate the process a little bit more. We would have to get all those contracts in line, and we'd have to take it through purchasing to do an official bid for the whole district. Right now, everybody's contract ends whenever it ends. They're free to go with whoever they want to. Some people prefer Kingsport Imaging, others swear by RICO. It's really just a personal preference, and if the principal was to change or administration was to change at a school, that may change as well.
I just asked the question for food for
there
thought.
could be some savings there.
If you all choose to pursue it or not, but just if there could be savings, that would be worth the trouble.
Currently for RICO, I can tell you that we're under a cooperative contract, so it would be the same pricing whether we got everybody's or if we did one school at a time. So I don't know there would be a tremendous savings there, but there could be some monetary savings to do that though. And it may be easier to know that everybody's contract's going to end on June the 30th, 2025 or whatever. That might be a little easier because right now everybody's different. I mean, you may have one, you may have one, you may have one. We've got 3 different due dates, so that may make it a little bit easier.
So the school pays it out of what funds? So
Their internal school funds.
so they generate their own
Yep.
pay it, or however they generate it.
Right. That could be a combination of things. It normally comes out of their general fund because it services the whole student body.
Some pay from title.
Yeah.
Some pay from the title. The instructional copiers.
We use PTO funds. We had a state contract with Canada, and that, it did benefit to do that because it was a state contract price. So,
Last time I checked state contract, it was with Xerox, but that's been a couple years ago, so they change that every year. But
So if you go with that state group, you still have to bid it out?
Nope.
Oh,
No.
So,
Anything's going to call off without bid, right?
that's right.
okay.
Statewide contract is, they've already gone through the bid process for you, so you just piggyback off of that.
any other questions or comments on the consent agenda? Okay, we'll move on down to item number 6, communication to the board. Couple of items to share with you. We did receive a couple of thank yous from the TSBA meeting that was held here. So I'm gonna pass these around, let everybody know. All right, got three. And just pass those around. And it was a great event. There were so many compliments beyond this of people who were in attendance. Just a really positive event for us to host here in Sullivan County. And Ms. Roblowski did an amazing job with the setup and the culinary arts, the ag, all the different departments, ROTC, right on down, did a wonderful job with the presentation. And so I think it represented Westridge and represented Sullivan County well. Great event. We also have a draft that Diane Cope has shared with you of what they're proposing at this point on the flu immunizations. And there would be the sites that would be in our schools as well. So we would have a couple of sites for our students and families to visit, but then all these other participating pharmacies would also have availability as well. So she just wanted to provide this to you, kind of give you an idea of where they're headed with that. Also wanted to make sure to remind or inform the board that Tuesday will be parent-teacher conferences day. Students will not be in school. Oh, wait. No, they'll be there.
Students will not be in school until conference day.
Thank you. Thought I better check myself on that. Is that after school or
No, it's
all day?
I've had some questions about why we don't do it on Monday, so that they have a 3-day weekend. Is there any particular reason? And I'm asking that question now prior to next year's calendar.
right. And to be honest, I think attendance is less if they're on a 3-day weekend and they don't come to parent-teacher conference days generally. It doesn't matter to me. We can.
Me either, I just.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then
How's our attendance on Monday when we got parent conferences on
it's
Tuesday?
been several, attendance for students is good. But I don't think attendance to conferences is as
Right,
good
I
as it's on
understand,
Monday.
They go for the extra long weekend.
Yeah.
If I had someone saying I'm going for a 3-day weekend this week, and this, so we got school Monday. And, that caught my attention, so.
It, I don't know anyway, it doesn't matter to me.
Like, say we check the attendance next Monday, and if we need to change the calendar
Yep.
for next year, we can change it.
Yep.
We can do a change.
Yep.
Does the teachers have a preference on that?
I don't know
How
if the
they'd rather have
teachers
it?
do, I don't think.
They're
the
there
teachers
either way,
do.
I didn't know if it mattered to them how we set it up.
I don't think it matters to them.
We tried after school one year, didn't we?
We have tried that.
Teachers did not like that one because it made such a long day.
It made a terrible long day for them.
And,
We've even done it where it was divided into several nights.
Yeah.
That came with mixed reviews also, so.
Can I go back, because you talked about the cooking thing, can I ask you a question about that? It's sort of in line with that, or is that,
That,
is that the, no,
Oh, that,
no, that's it. Okay, never mind, you're talking about
that's-
3-day district.
yes.
No, you're good, I'm sorry.
So, we will be recognizing culinary arts tonight as well. Ms. Nash, you want to share anything this
Sure.
one, or?
Sure, so, Westridge has 3 culinary teachers that participate, and Sullivan East has 1. It is in the spring, usually the middle of April. It's in Orlando. It's called Disney Cook Around the World, and it's a huge competition, and they love going. So they went last year, and we had one team from Westridge, Chef Hurlbert's team won Judges Award, and we'll be recognizing them tonight. But the competition that she was in, there were over 80 teams that competed, and so each team is given like a mystery basket of ingredients, and then once they get their ingredients, they draw a continent that they have to specialize that recipe for, and it's either North America, Africa, Asia, and they don't know what continent they're gonna get until they draw their basket right before they start the competition. And they have 90 minutes to, I call it sling food. I mean, it is wild. I've seen the competition at Bristol Motor Speedway when our students and teachers go over there. But there were only 8 judges awards given this year, and again, Chef Herwart's team won, and she said that the team was won based on just certain various reasons that the judges decided to pick from. And the big thing this year was, for this past year, was the difficulty in the cooking and the recipe that they had to cook. But the students prepare very hard, and it comes down to timing and teamwork, really. You know, who's going to do what, who's going to prepare what. So it's really hard for the students to practice and prepare. So, but a good event for them to attend.
And that's a really neat experience. But as you saw at the SBA meeting, that's a work-based learning kind of experience for the students. And you saw the presentation, and the way that I kind of would kind of qualify that is when a student goes out to a fine restaurant and applies, they should stack up here as opposed to just the general person walking in off the street, because they can talk the talk, they got the experiences, and those pay off to where you're not just saying, oh, they're going to go out and work at McDonald's or something like that. They're actually setting themselves up apart from just a general public person.
So my question kind of along that line actually is, so when we look at all the CT opportunities and all the different things we're trying to get, you know, I mean, Eastman's involved, Robinette's involved, got all these companies involved, but is there any kind of work-based learning with like the food prep, or is, I mean, because that is another CT, is there anything we can look at on that, or are we looking at that?
Well,
Because I know all the restaurants are saying they're having trouble getting people, it seems like it'd be lining up, so.
lots of opportunities there, and then I'll just add to that. It's we're having our own issues in our own food service department here in Sullivan County. There are ways that we could use work-based learning in our school system. You know, we're going out asking the businesses and the industries to hire our students as interns. We could offer that within our own district as interns, but that would probably need board approval, wouldn't it, Ingrid?
So basically, like you're saying, like a Westridge student could actually work at, I mean, it's because it's food, like a Rock Springs or something like another school, or would it be at Westridge, or?
Yeah, I don't think it would be, we had done this in Hamlin as well. We didn't do it in the high schools because peers,
Oh, yeah.
you know, but in your elementary school, I could see something like that being beneficial. And we didn't pay the same as the employees, because obviously they weren't full-time employees or part-time employees. We paid them as an intern. So I don't know if that's anything that we can consider, but how many positions right now do you have open?
We actually just interviewed on Tuesday, but we've got, I think, 2 vacancies left, but I'll just tell you, it's just been kind of a constant turnover. We've had several work 2 days and quit, work a week and quit. I joke and told the lead team that first 2 weeks felt like a vacation because I had a full staff. Well, those days are gone, so.
Spoke too soon.
Yeah.
Is our requirement from the federal government concerning the ages of our students working?
Not for my department. I think that's probably more of a board HR situation rather than it is a federal requirement.
We want to look at that, Edward. It's
Definitely something to look at.
I'd research it, maybe come back with a
I'll
recommendation.
come back with it.
I mean, there were lots of times at the high school back in the day that we would have students in there helping, just because we were trying to give them.
That was way back in the day, Mary.
Back in the day.
I mean, if it gives them a leg up when they go out and say, I've actually got job experience.
Right.
I mean, to kind of help with that, help us and help them too. Because if it's a work-based learning, we'll still be paying them, I would imagine, so.
And
It'd be interesting.
but there are opportunities, your original question, there are opportunities for us to use work-based learning settings for students in culinary arts as well. Ms. Manager, do we have any partners right now that are really?
As far as like Meadowview Conference Center and, you know, places like that, not yet, but most of them are restaurant industries for now, but we are looking at expanding that.
Thank you.
In addition, this one's just for our work session, but our spotlight on learning tonight, if I can draw your attention to the box light, we'll go through something that we've got very proud, very excited to share this information. Got out a little bit of it, and we've done a press release, but I want to use our TBOS data as our spotlight on learning tonight and share this with you. Of course, TBOS, the definition is the student growth, not the student proficiency, which we're still waiting on the proficiency side. We just completed our appeals. Dr. Palmer submitted those, so I don't anticipate we're going to see a big change in our proficiency scores based on our appeals, but we will go through our growth.
Yes, sir.
And it says we're proud of our schools, and that we have a really good reason to be proud. This past year, Sullivan County, this is the county level at first here, scored a 5, which is exemplary as the composite score overall. So level 5 district, which is to be definitely commended. Numeracy, 5. Literacy, 5. The combination of literacy and numeracy, 5. Science, 1. And then our social studies was at the 3. This is on a scale of 1 to 5. So social studies is at right there at the mid range.
District-wide science, that's K-12, right?
That'd be everything. Yes.
Well, could you tell any, I mean, did it break it down as far as, can you tell if it's high school, middle school, math, was there a bright spots in it? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll sit back and let you.
You're good, you're good.
Take a breath.
Now, moving on, still from the district, 5 on the TCAP composite for grades 4 through 8. We have a 5 for grades 4 through 8 in numeracy. A 5 in the literacy, 4 through 8. And then also a 5 for literacy and numeracy, and that combined is a 5 level as well. Science, in grades 4 through 8, will be a level 1, and then a 3 in grades 4 through 8 in social studies. So, obviously the science is an area that we are looking at. I'll talk a little bit more about that before we get into the schools, but so we'll come back to that. But moving on into the more of the high school, for our EOCs, we have a composite score of a 5, numeracy a 5, literacy in high school by itself ranked a 1, and then a 5 for literacy and numeracy together. So you can tell by that the numeracy was a very strong 5.
How could you give 5 in the combination of 2 and a 1 in literacy?
You had to be very, very high on your numeracy score for it to. You want to share?
If you look at the bubble chart that we get that comes along with TBOS, you can be in this blue category on the very end, and there'll be a little dot there to show you're in 5. And they actually add a parentheses on the end of that little bubble to say, not only are you a 5, but you're well beyond you know, in the growth area for numeracy. And we've got that parentheses on the math, so there's really no better explanation. It's just so much stronger in the math and the growth that actually pulled that ELA all the way up.
If
You
I
put
look at
those
the
two
numbers
together.
right, we grew in math 10.3, which is, we were one of the top 7 in the state in that growth, I believe it is.
So you're probably right.
It's on shopbeat.org. That's when I'm, but, so because we grew so much in math, you're saying that full numeracy or literacy cuts from a 1 all the way to a 5 combination.
Yes, sir. That's
That doesn't
extraordinary.
make sense mathematically to me, but.
Right, right.
You know, you think maybe a 3 or something.
It's that Sanders black box.
Yeah, yeah,
I
right.
disagree with Sanders back when he wrote it, so
So you know about that
That's
magic
right.
box.
he actually came to City High School and spoke.
All about his agriculture. All about his agriculture numbers.
And I did speak with him and disagree with him personally. Didn't make any progress.
Last two on this screen, 2 district-wide EOC, and then the 4 in social studies.
Okay, we were 2 at the high school level, basically, right?
This is just the high school.
And we're 1,
4 through 8.
4 through 8.
So this was kind of pulled down by the 4 through 8 to the 1.
So that social studies was a 3, 4 through 8, and this is 4. So it was, so high school would have been,
Stronger. All right, then we'll go into the individual schools. And what we've got here is the highlights from each school. So if you'll see different areas represented on the screen for the schools, and they won't be the same. I will share with you a report of all the schools, and you can see each. Like we were talking last time, some schools would only have 1 teacher in a grade level, so to kind of protect that privacy, we're only showing the highlights from the schools. So at Bluff City, Bluff City Elementary, their literacy score was a level 3, and science was a level 3 as well. Central Heights had the composite score of a level 4, literacy and numeracy 4, and literacy by itself 4.
does the composite include science and social studies?
Composites,
Includes all 4 of them, right?
Emmett, level 4 composite, literacy numeracy 4, and numeracy 4. Holston, level 4, literacy numeracy, and then their numeracy by itself was a level 5. At Indian Springs, level 4 composite, literacy numeracy, literacy and numeracy by itself, all level 4s. Ketron, level 5 in their composite, literacy and numeracy level 5, and then their numeracy level 5. Mary Hughes has 3 areas that they were level 5 in, their composite, their literacy and numeracy, and then their numeracy by itself. Miller Perry, level 5s, composite, literacy and numeracy, and science, all level 5.
And there's no social studies score.
So that's every possible one.
Every possible.
You said there's not a social studies score?
It's 5 on here.
How many years in a row is that middle period's been 5?
6.
This,
Only 5.
right.
We need to market something.
Well, and I'll stop there and say, the leadership team has completed data meetings at each school. And at those meetings, they've shared, not necessarily this was our drop or anything like that, but more along the lines of, here's how we're doing what we're doing, and here's what we see in our data, and, you know, very impressed with Mr. Wilson's team and how they presented. All the schools, and that's one of the things Ms. Buckles really noted, was every school's presentation was a little different, but each one highlighted and really was very informative. So it was a good learning lesson for me as
Well,
well.
normally when you see a high level of growth, that means you've had a low year
Before.
The year before, or 2 years ago. If you got 5 years in a row.
Yeah, or to keep growing.
That-
Yeah.
It's pretty
Oh, yes.
impressive.
Well, I don't have that problem, but
Yeah, I'm with you.
Rock Springs, another really outstanding performance there as well. Level 5 composite. Literacy and numeracy level 5, literacy level 5, and numeracy level 5. Sullivan Gardens, their composite was at a level 3, numeracy level 4, and literacy numeracy level 3. Sullivan Central, now this is their second year, and a lot of growth there continued. Could be their second year as since they've opened. So it's Rockfield's level 5 composite, literacy, numeracy, and numeracy. Sullivan East looks good. Looks really good. Composite level 5, literacy 5, numeracy 5, and literacy and numeracy level 5. They held a celebration and had Mr. Stallcutt back for that, so there was. Sullivan Heights Middle, level 4 numeracy, 4 in literacy and numeracy, and social studies level 5. Sullivan East, 5 composite, literacy and numeracy level 5, numeracy level 5, and their social studies is a level 5 this year. In Westridge, numeracy level 5, and then literacy and numeracy level 4.
so that meant literacy was less to bring it to a fold. Okay.
Yes, sir. So, lot to be very excited about from the growth standpoint, and I've always been a big fan of growth, because that shows you're going from one year to the next and you're improving your students. It's even more special when you can tag along
Who will achievement scores be in?
it'll be later this fall, it could even go into the winter, would you say? I'd say so, based on the information we've received and talking with BOE representatives. They said it could take, we'll be watchful for that. Are you surprised?
Do I have to answer that?
Okay, we'll move on into the unfinished business. Mr. Jones, would you want to go over the Henry Hart?
Okay. You think of school calendar, you want to talk about
Well, we can do the school calendar. You should have in your packet the information from the survey that Ms. Buckles conducted on the school calendar. If you have any questions, she said she'd be welcome. Be glad to answer those. But I think the results pretty much show.
match up yours?
Exactly.
You could say, I told you so.
No, I'm not gonna say that, but I wasn't shocked.
Neither was I.
The grand said it, we're good.
But now we can say we did it.
That's
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 right.
right.
That's exactly right.
Henry Har Road property. Chuck and I met with the owner of the property that we were talking to about a land swap, and walked the property with him, and on the property is a cemetery, and his question was about moving the cemetery. We've asked for a legal opinion on that, and the answer to that question is you'd have a better chance of moving an endangered species in Russell Creek than you would in moving cemetery. So,
It's right on the road too, isn't it?
the
cemetery
cemetery
right
is,
there.
and of course, he owns the property kind of to the, above that. But we are trying to get a contact for the individual that owns road access from Jericho Plain all the way over, which is basically just a culvert. But we would have to purchase that before we could actually do a land swap. The owner is still interested, and what he was trying to avoid was, if we could move the cemetery, then it would have saved him 100 feet of property back for 40 feet or so. But he still, I talked with him Saturday again last week, and he's still interested in pursuing that. We're going to get an answer from the company that owns that. It's about 5 acres of land. There's a strip going down Jericho Lane, and then it backs up to about 5 acres back in the back of the trucking company that's there.
Oh, so it's not the trucking company,
No.
it's an individual? Oh.
No, we don't, well, it's not, it's a company that owns it, but that's why we're having trouble getting phone number. But the property owner said that he used to work there, so he's going to try to get a contact number for us. And I have gotten a lawyer's number that I think represents that company. We're going to see if we can contact him also that way. But before we can pursue any further, we'd have to get some information from them to see if they would sell that. Like I said, it's basically just a culvert, but it will be needed in the future should we put a road through there, whether it be an access road or whatever. And it's a little use to them, or I would think so, the way it runs.
But without it's a little use to us too, right?
Right,
We don't get
and
that. Okay.
so before we bring it back to you for some type of action, I want to make sure what we have from them. But it would be, I think it'd be a benefit to them if we actually could plan a road through there.
Yeah, it'll make it more valuable piece of
Yes.
property.
But Chuck and I walked the property, and it looks like feasible up to that one point of around the cemetery.
If that actually happens, I know at one time we talked about different parts of the road, and one was going straight in, and that sort of failed. And is this one would still be like a right-hand turn to get to the school?
Yes,
It's not going to start on up.
It would go straight in from 357 by the cemetery, and then you'd have to turn right when it actually intersected Lynn Road. But it would take out some of the curves and stuff on up above on Lynn Road. And
That's what I was thinking. I just want to make sure.
it may be a pipe dream, but right now it's worth looking at, thinking outside the box and making sure of what we have.
Great idea.
So, but we'll pursue that a little further.
Usually there's 10.
The West Ridge High School access driveway parking lot, on this one, there's been the conversation of what's going to happen with that staging area afterwards, and part of the arrangement is they're going to fix it back. And they were talking about grass, gravel, and then we started talking about paving it, making it an additional parking lot. And so to continue that, if we want to look at paving it, which would provide us with about another 100 parking places, it would give us the band practice area closer to the school. The architect needs us to approve the fees, which would probably result in about a $24,000 increase in the fees with the studies and different things would have to be accomplished.
The advantage here of doing that would be for the band primarily, because you come out straight out of the band room and across the back street there, and they are going to design the parking lot to where it would be at least football field size, actually more than football field size, with I think two entries and places and one exit. They mark it off for the band and mark it off for parking also. But you have to have it engineered for drainage, and that's part of their architectural fees. Has to have some stormwater drainage rulings there. If you make it a grass field, which it is now, on football nights, people park there, and the next day it's got ruts in it where it's impossible for the band to do something. But it does require, in my opinion, board action to go ahead and make it to a use for both band and
Is the 24,000 just for planting, or is that actually what it would take to do it?
No,
that's just
Just a
plan.
Just a plan. I was hoping.
yeah.
I didn't know how much they were actually going to do.
Paving right now is about $5 a square foot, I believe, if that's how it's calculated. But looking ahead to the future, it would definitely be a plus for everyone. It's going to be across from the tennis courts, as you come up from Henry Har, this area here is on your right, and it's marked off right now, I think, for the band, but it's still fairly rough. It's never been in really great shape.
Would it be possible to make it co-use with like the ROTC parade grounds kind of thing? Because I don't know where they're actually doing too, so it'd be kind of a dual purpose maybe if we could do that.
It could be whatever they needed to use for that, and we've actually, you've authorized them to go ahead and mark off the other parking lot for a band area down on the other end of, across from the soccer field, so that during the day, if they want to march down there, they can. Right now, the band is using the soccer field mainly for practice.
And they're having to come back, they're having to come back at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, a lot of times to practice because sports teams are on the field.
Everybody's using it.
I had the highway department took their big roller and rolled that band practice field 2 weeks ago, and we marked it off, and they've been using it.
Right.
Yeah.
Since
I noticed it was marked off yesterday.
Yeah, we marked it off, we had the highway department came and rolled it and got all the rough spots out of it, so, but now you have a next football game when it's muddy, it's gonna be bad, but right now it's in good shape.
Sounds like they're good.
This is so close, what they're having to do right now, bands just have to carry
And it
instruments.
would be bid as an alternate probably for the pavement, and they said they could do it, and what's the other thing besides pressure run, or something that's with it, chip and tar, or?
Yeah.
That's a cheaper way of doing it, but that's not a good way of doing it, so.
They got what they call a pug mix that they put
Right.
down too under the asphalt, and then they put the binder down. And the binder's rough, you know what I'm saying, and then they put the actual coating on.
I'm thinking if we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
It needs to be paved if we're gonna do it, because if you don't, Crusher Run will be in the halls of West Ridge on the bottom of those feet, which will make a,
Sort of like what we did the East Track. If we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
Well, that's why we brought it back, just to make sure that.
You don't need more parking, especially ball games and graduations.
I'm all for the parking. I guess my question would be like, and you may know about this for that other school down there uses it. Didn't they pave that and then paint it white to try to cool it off or something?
Yeah.
I wonder, I mean, how would that affect, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I get what we're trying to do and I like the ideal, I just wonder if it'll be, because I noticed they had done that, then they painted it, and I'm guessing that's to try to cool it off.
Yeah, I think it was.
So I'm wondering if we'd be taking their, what they could use as a practice field completely away from them by paving it.
I think, from what I understand, I have not talked with the band director, I think they wanted it, paved where they could actually do it, because they wanted to, Charlie, did they want the other parking lot paved, the band initially, marked off? Did the band ask for that down?
Way on the far end?
Yes. It's just a long way to take their.
Right, and I get that, I was just wondering, because I'd seen that.
They've actually got their van, or not their van, but their cargo thing down there, where they, at the other end now.
I mean, that could be something to mention to the dean, though, if we approved it, about the heat, you know.
Learn about
Because
something.
I mean, there's gotta be a reason they.
Yeah.
It's because,
It
it's so
was
hot. DB uses that in the heat of summer.
Yeah,
But
And
yeah, like in the middle.
we could actually mark it off in different colors for the, we could do it white to cool it down, and then mark it off with purple or something else for the markings.
You know, if you paint that white, that's
I think they can, yeah.
But that's a good idea, because you're right, they do it for us.
Yeah.
Let's learn by their
Areas that
mistakes.
you saw just bigger
it
parking.
ended up being black.
It was, but then,
From the top.
yeah. I don't know, they put that in one, right, they did change the color. But they
It's
used
hot, it's hot.
it's like 98
they don't have
degrees.
to do that.
Yeah.
The old hosting property.
Now, I noticed.
Mr. Hubbard's going to give us a small update on the old Holston warehouse property. Not a lot of new information.
No, I met with the insurance adjuster and also another gentleman on 2 different occasions at Old Holston. I actually just got the report today from the engineer. One of them was an engineer. I did get in touch with, when they first come back, they said we'd have to have an engineer and P-DEC involved and all that. If we, when we was looking at tearing the whole complete building down. If we only tear the gym part down, it's less than an acre, so we don't have to do all that, okay? But we will have to somehow or another put an end in that building, whether it be metal or whatever, because it will open up the building up if you take that part off. Actually, the report is waiting on some quotes for the insurance will come back. I don't think that's putting it in backwards frame. They seem like, I don't know why they want quotes and then asking for, before they'll say if they'll pay anything on the insurance or not. I don't know, but they're asking for quotes now, so I'll get back with purchasing with that since this report came today. And she'll have to start the bid process to get bids, and then when we get quotes, then that will go back to the insurance, and then they will make a determination, I guess, whether they'll do anything. It's just kind of odd to me.
So we've already declared it surplus, right? So it's ready to go to bid if, from purchasing department, right?
Yeah.
If we need to get quotes.
Yeah, but you know, there was a sticker because TDEC, it was very, a whole lot, gonna be a big expense. But now that it's so small an area, less than an acre, that you're disturbing, you don't have to have all that engineering and all that studying and all the soil and all that done. And it'll just go back as grass, okay? But it does open that end of the building up, which would have to be enclosed. Mr. Matt can keep his records in that end.
Next on the list is Sullivan County Aquatic Center. That name is in there somewhere. I don't know who put it in there.
I think.
Back a couple of months ago, we approved the swimming pool at West Ridge to go ahead and engage the architect. And the good thing was, we didn't have to go out to bids on the architect because CRW was already the architect of record. In meeting with Deneen and the others, we discussed the specifics of what do we need, and most of us do not have, I'll speak for myself, I have no expertise in swimming. Some of the others on the architect firm said they were not specialists in this, so they wanted to make sure that we had someone who had a specialty in swimming that could help design it. And what you have before you is just it's a consultant that goes with CRW, and they would engage them, and that would be part of their fee. They would come in and meet with our high school administration, high school coaches who are going to be involved in swimming and wrestling, because part of the plan here is to try to design the facility so that it can accommodate both swimming and wrestling, plus some additional locker rooms downstairs and storage facilities. But this way, we've got the specialists telling us what would work and what would not work, rather than someone's individual opinion about it. And you'll see there the total, I think the total fee is $23,000 something. Somebody see that? That's $16,000 for this. The total fee, including architectural services, I think is $23,200. And yeah, it's $23,200, and I'll give you a copy of that. But I want you to have everything that we have and put it on up for approval tonight, so it's part of the official record, so everyone knows who's doing what. But it's really specific as to they'll meet with the coaches, they'll meet with the administrators, and does anyone on the board have any expertise in swimming that they want to? Paul?
Swim with her.
Life jacket.
Sounds like a volunteer.
Life jacket.
And at first, we, Deneen discussed, hiring someone locally for another school system who had some background, but we decided it was best to have someone who had designed swimming pools and who knew what the up-and-coming things were. So that's what you have there. We have a meeting scheduled, I think, October the 12th, I believe, is the next meeting I may have it confused with the access driveway, but we do have one coming up soon to talk about the details of this. And And
Is
I
this
don't know
something we
what,
want to get knocked out tonight to get them started on? I mean, it's a,
we'd like to approve
Yeah,
this tonight to
okay,
get them, so they can go ahead and I don't even know that it needed board approval like the way we worded our first one, but I'd rather go ahead and have it in the board minutes and put this with the records. You know, part of the questionnaire is how do we take advantage of the bleachers that would be in the swimming pool area so that they could be used for wrestling and swimming. And they were looking at doing a reversible one where the wrestling would take place on the backside of it, but they could reverse the, and I don't know how it works, but they could reverse the bleachers so that they could actually, you know, watch that. The only negative thing that I've heard was that wrestling and swimming season are both sometimes occur at the same time, and I don't know much about their scheduling, how they do things, but the other thing is that the way it's going to be designed, it will give more access to the concession stands for football games, as the outside balcony will go over and tie into the other balcony that's outside the concession stands, and make it easy accessible there. That's assuming that we can, that it will come in where we can afford it. But again, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing.
hopefully they can improve that a little bit, because that concession stand area is pretty jammed there on the football game night, because everything kind of funnels to that one point, so that if we can fix both at the same thing, that'd be fantastic.
Are you saying we need to add another concession booth?
At some point.
That's our seats.
Yeah, at some point, yeah. I mean, because it's just, I mean, I think a concession stand would do twice the business if it didn't have the jam that's there. A lot of people just gonna mess with it.
That's why I ate 2 bags of popcorn instead of the concession.
Yeah, exactly.
So the bleachers they'd have in there that just
Yeah.
spin them around?
I don't understand it, Paul. That's the truth. I said they were.
It's probably a seat bench, but then when you flip it, becomes bench back. I mean,
So
I
it
don't,
wouldn't be for, it'd be for the,
Be for swimming and wrestling, is what they
so
said.
it'd be for the athletes,
Yes.
not the parents.
Well, no, I think it'd be some for the parents.
Just be the
Well, you
swing
see those
stand.
ones that just kind of accordion up, and then they got the wheels on them.
They would just come back up to.
They accordion, they just go from everything and
That
accordion
might
back
be.
down.
I think it would be portable bleachers probably, and they would turn around where they could use it both ways. But I won't give you that definitive because that was something new to me when they said we can design it that way. And I'll get more information.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Charlie, do you
You'd
have
to have somebody
do you have
spin on it.
something to add to that?
Has some floor,
I don't know, just off the top of my thinking, there's such a high moisture content in the pool area, how much slick would this mats and all that be for the wrestling? You following what I'm getting at? I don't know if they
I think it'd be divided off is what they were.
But if they're gonna reverse that, there's gotta be a way, you can't seal it off, I wanna see the design of it first.
Yeah.
It just don't seem like it'd be like the moisture would get on the wrestling mats and make them slicker, and to me now, I don't know, I just wanna see the design first.
I never thought about that. So they'd have to have it separated, it'd have to be.
then the door tears up,
We're having the
rest out,
experts come in
and then all
and.
you've got
This
is
is about South Carolina,
have that.
Yes. And,
Rock Hill, close to it,
I don't know.
they got 2 or 3 places.
Yeah, I think I saw their address listed here, but they've worked with Deneen and them before. But that's why I said I think it's important for them to be able to tell us what we can do. Ed O'Hara is the vice president of it, he's the one that signed it. And the senior aquatics engineer is Matt Caton.
They're the same ones that is actually redoing Dobbins Beach
Right.
this summer. And they done ETSU's, Virginia Tech's, they came to South and looked at it, you know what I'm saying, here a while back. That's what I mean. So-
Yeah. So did we have some bleachers at north that could be reversed? You know?
I don't know where they'd even been at.
No.
They had some up on the top at the, like, the practice basketball, but they wasn't reversed. They just pulled back.
And
Over separate, they just had over bleachers.
someone asked me that question, I didn't have an
Yeah,
answer.
no, there was none at North like that.
And it may come back that there's no way to do the wrestling and the swimming together with the square footage. I think we're looking at 21,000 square feet, I believe, for the building. And I don't know who came up with that number, but that's the number I think has been used ever since swimming pools were designed. But The other thing was having area for pool equipment downstairs, and also some dressing area, extra dressing facilities. 20,250 square feet, at least, what it says here. But the design will come back to the board, so there will be more information once that is developed.
Any other questions or conversations on that? No, I've got my own, so those are just extras. Okay, we'll move into new business under item number 8. We have 3 items, A, B, and C. Mr. Loesch, what is the Spark grant, the ISM grant resolution, and our budget amendment?
Two things, those are, the STAR grant and the ISM budget resolutions are for grants that we have, multiple year grants, but we have to recognize them in each year of the budget. So that's to take to amend our general purpose school budget. That will go to the county commission for approval in the September meeting. The budget amendment is from the maintenance department. They had to buy a new copier printer, and that's to move funds around to get those allocated for that copier printer.
The only item under item B, and I spoke with Ms. Magic, under one of the ISM grants, the architect actually included equipment, that they would get an equipment list for us, and that was a pretty substantial fee, and we'll just do our own equipment and save that cost on it. That's the only thing that's anything different. The rest of all 4 of them are just rolling it over in year 2. So no other change. And then items D and E. Mr. Jones.
Item D,
Pretty much.
we'll take it off the agenda, but I'll explain to you why it was there. There was a piece of property that came up for sale next door to Indian Springs last week. I talked to the owner on Sunday, and he said he would hold it until I presented it to the board. My idea was to have it for a parking lot for Indian Springs. It's 3/4 of an acre, but after he went back and looked at the restrictions for the subdivision, he decided that it probably wasn't wise on his part to sell to us for a parking lot, so it's off the agenda. But it would have been a real plus for that school to have extra parking there, right, almost next door. There was a street right between it, but master facility plan. Let's talk about ESSER bonus first.
Oh, okay.
We'll go back
Yes.
to that.
Okay, so with ESSER 2 winding down, we do have some funds that we're about to run out of time, or we have ran out of time for the most part, to do any kind of bid process and putting it out there where we have time to get it back and then get the project completed. So have a proposal that we would need to take care of this evening just because of the time frame with ESSER. But we'd like to make a proposal to do a one-time bonus to employees who were here up and before May 11th of 2023, that are still here, exactly.
And who will be here
Ongoing. They're not going to be resigning or leaving us before that would come out, but we would make it a $500 for all employees. They would still be responsible for their portion of the Social Security and the other benefits that would be taken out. So it would not be a $500 end of the day bonus. They would, get it at the end of the year with their taxes and doing their own individual taxes. But that would pretty much exhaust ESSER 2, except for some things that may come back if we're bids come in less on some of these projects that we have still to get finalized, and some closing out of the costs from the architect. So we have potentially, we may still have a little bit of funds there at the very end that we may not even get to be able to spend. But this would take care of the bulk of that.
This would leave us about 38,000 that would be on committee, is that right?
That's true, as long as
As long as those,
the
as long as
Sullivan Heights
comes in.
paving comes in at what it was
Right.
projected to come in at.
This is one of those spend it or lose it, and, this,
How many employees? You know?
yeah, I've got the number somewhere. You got that number there, Chuck? It'd be $500 for each person, whether part-time or full-time.
1,144 1,144 employees that were hired before 5/11/23.
Now, 5/11/23, that's the end, that's the official end of COVID. That's the reason for using that, and this is COVID money. And they would have to be still employed on the date the check is distributed. If somebody resigns between now and then, they will not get paid the money.
Mr. Carter, do you have a breakdown on that 1144?
Pardon?
The part-time, what do you have?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of the number of people,
How's it broken?
support staff, 487, and that's 277 full-time, 210 part-time.
And that includes the cafeteria temporary workers.
That includes temporary.
That includes the cafeteria. We have temporary workers there in the cafeteria, right?
I wouldn't call them temporary, but
Now, they're-
some of them are. But
Okay.
That's what we used to classify as.
Aren't that where they're classified?
Yeah.
Okay,
They're classified as temporary, but they'll qualify for this bonus.
yes.
And then professional, full-time, or professional total, 657. 645 of those are full-time professional, and 12 part-time professional.
12 are qualifying?
Yes, sir.
So every person employed by the board would get $500 if they are still employed on the date it's distributed, and if they've been employed prior to 5/11.
Have to be during October or November, because December 15th is the end, so.
And we have to prove this before September the 30th. And this is equivalent to a 25-cent an hour pay raise for support staff who work full-time, 40 hours. The calculation I did, 500 divided by 52 weeks, divided by 40 hours a week, and it's 24-something cents an hour for them. And it does not raise their salary for next year. That's the only negative. It would have to be it's a one-time bonus.
How will that be taxed?
Or
Will that be taxed like a bonus? So it'll be 20%?
And we'll have bonus tax to it.
But they'll get that back when they apply for their tax refund.
I know I'm gonna get the question.
Right.
So the 38,000 that might be left over, we're holding that because of what?
Well, the 38,000 that's left over, the bids aren't in yet for the paving at Sullivan Heights,
Oh, okay.
parking lot, the behind the school. I think we budgeted $100,000 for it, and we think it'd come in at that. Now, if that 38,000 is not spent, there's 2 or 3 other things that we have in the cart
Gotcha.
that can be used for, that's already been bid. We won't have to do any type of, some of the scrubbers for the cafeteria and Charlie's department, there's a possibility there. Some of the playground equipment that we talked about that we can get that's already on the list.
Well, that's fantastic. I just want to make sure all the eggs weren't in one basket. So
No,
if
it's
that
not.
falls through, there's other options. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's
And,
perfect. Thank you.
We're not going to lose anything unless we have to.
We had the pre-bid this afternoon at Sullivan Heights on the pavement. We had two bidders there.
Now, it's due to open on September the 20th, right?
Yes, we told them it had to be quick, and we spent quite a bit of time there, but we had 2 companies there. Don't know if anybody else will call me to go back, and I don't know if that's, I hope both of them submit the bid.
How many square feet of pavement did you have? Did you calculate it?
No, I didn't. It's 336,000. We've got 2 as a base. We've got an alternate. Okay, we've got an alternate in this. There's a section that's not real bad. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like we'll get a better rate if we just take it off. You know, that when they add that in. And there's a couple of sections where the dumpsters at the base is messed up and around toward the pool area. And that may change a little bit because they'll have to go down and do the subgrade back up.
That has to be done by December 15th, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it has to be, the contract has to be signed by the end of this month and
The
everything.
work has to be done by the,
Yeah, that'll be done during this paving year. I told them, yeah. And, I informed them about fall break. They had got 4 weeks to do it if they didn't already have a work schedule, you know what I'm saying? And then if we didn't, we may have to adjust parking, picking up, because parents pick up back on that section. We may have to look at adjusting the pickup drop-offs to give them access during the school day, but I hope not.
No, I'm not doing that answer there, but did you by chance look at the track down there? I've had some calls on it, so, and I haven't looked at it.
it's an ESER 3.
Okay, somebody mentioned that, and I went back and couldn't find nothing.
It's in the process.
All right. All right.
We couldn't get it bid in time for ESER 2, so.
Yeah, since I go out there a little more.
It is
now I
ESER
get hit by
3,
bills.
right?
I was like, I think it's in
That
there.
cannot be
I need to go
done,
back.
Mr. Robinson, that cannot be, you have to have I'm just thinking 50-degree ambient temperature before you can coat the tracks and stuff like that. So you could not get it done during this time frame before winter time set in.
Right.
It has to be spring.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on that, or? I get conversations. I guess one on the bonus, and this is gonna make me sound bad, but should we look at giving our full-time more than our part-time?
We calculated that.
I mean, I'm just saying,
And,
you know,
when you look at part-time, some of your part-time workers work 29.75 hours a week.
right,
Because we do that to keep them under full-time status.
right.
And, that's the only reason, and they work as hard.
And I'm not saying
I know,
they're
I know.
not, I just know how we also are
We
fighting
looked,
to keep people too, so I was trying to,
We did a calculation on part-time of paying them $250. We did a calculation of paying the professional staff more than we did the support staff, but we came to the conclusion that everybody was just as important as anybody else.
Right.
And now you can change that recommendation tonight, but
well, I got you put that.
I'm not throwing you under the bus. I'm just
Yeah.
That's kind of what we looked at when we did all the calculations. And
Which mountain do you want down
I
on,
don't
Paul?
know.
Randall?
I'm curious, I mean.
I'm hard time hearing down here. 29.75 hours, is that the cutoff?
that keeps you under the full-time status.
This is kind of a rhetorical question. Why is that our cutoff?
Well, if you,
What?
if you-
That's all we got. That's
Pardon?
federal government.
Yeah, it's not ours, it's theirs.
federal
That's not us.
government.
Okay. But how does it, what advantage is it to us?
Well, if we go full-time, we gotta pay benefits.
That's what
And years ago, every school system around just about
I was
started
just
trying.
wondering if that applied.
You can get 3 part-time employees for the cost of 2 full-time.
I understand.
And it was all a matter of money.
It seemed like when that started, it was like 28 hours.
And I don't disagree with you, Paul, on the,
I mean, I was just had to ask a while,
but now the part-time, I did my calculation on the hourly rate of 25 cents. The part-time will get more than that when you figure
but
theirs.
I'll say that you're on that one.
Yeah, I mean,
You're the one jumping on that.
I'd say I wasn't gonna jump on it
You said
either.
that, so. That's why I was asking that, so.
And I've had lots of support staff ask me questions about the hourly rate of pay of, been here 10 years and they're not making much more than someone's been here, 1 or 2 years.
Right.
And this is one way of kind of rewarding everybody. And honestly, I think we've got to look at our pay structure so that Amber doesn't have the problem of continuing to.
Just as an example, some of the courts are now saying that they're starting to pay their part-timers $1 or $2 an hour more than they are the full-timers because they don't have benefits.
Much cheaper than paying benefits.
It is. It's much cheaper. They're able to attract more people. It's not a full-time job, so it's not benefits, but, I mean, so the hourly rates are going up on the part-timers.
But you think about $500 a year, that's not a lot. I mean, 25 cents an hour.
That's great.
And if we were to, something happen, we fall short, we can use some extra free money, but right now, there's no time that we would fall short unless the bid for Sullivan Heights on the parking comes in way high. And I think the going rate for paving right now is about $5 a square foot. That's why I asked that question, Charlie. So we should be pretty much on target because we had an estimate, we bid the budget of $100,000.
So if it does come back, that paving project is way high, and it still has to be signed this month, is that something we'd have a special call meeting just to do that one, or is it something they can do without us, or? Okay, good. All right, so it can still be handled, it doesn't have to be. Okay.
As long as we don't overspend on, as long as it comes in under the money we have. The only place we might lose a little money, when you do the budget, you have to put in architectural fees and other things, and until the finance department closes those out, we could end up losing a little money there, because if they have $6,000 reserved, and the bids came in low enough where it only cost us $5,500, then there's $500 there that we can't spend it. You can't spend it twice. So at the end of the month, we could end up losing that $500 unless we get the work completed, and all the work's not completed yet. But they've done a great job of trying to get it down to the penny of what we can do and can't do. And the bonus is just kind of topping on, if y'all approve it, all.
Okay, I think that leaves us with one item, item 8C, the master facilities discussion.
Okay. Not ready just yet on that one. We've had a master facilities plan for at least 8 years. And the plan's been modified back in 2019, but it's really gotten modified even more after COVID or with COVID. With COVID money, we made the decision to spend it on HVAC, roofs, and other structural issues with the school systems. So by doing that, I think we've made some commitments, and this is my opinion, we've made some commitments to some buildings that we need to go back and take a look at in our overall plan. And with that said, take a copy of this. Back in 2019, February 7th, we went back and made some changes in the master plan. And if anybody needs a copy of the master plan, I'll have some printed here if anybody wants one. Let's see. I'm going to keep one here for now. Oh, I'm sorry. We went back and looked at the master plan, and at the top of that summary. Oh, I'm sorry. I got a plan. At the top of that summary, the master plan called for a new central area elementary school, and that was supposed to be this projected timeline now was 2020 of asking for money from county commission to fund that resolution. New central area elementary school. We have voted to spend money on renovating Indian Springs. It's got a new roof on it. I put a metal roof on it this week, so it's about half finished now. HVAC. We've done some work at Central Heights. We've done quite a bit of work at Holston Elementary School out of COVID money and others. So my point here is there a need for a new elementary school? And the answer is probably not. We just need to do more to Indian Springs on renovation. And then you go to the second bullet, approve intent to fund resolution for an East Area Elementary School to replace or renovate Mary Hughes. Well, we've spent quite a bit of money on Mary Hughes. We could not get HVAC in because the timeline of the number of days was over. But we're spending money there. We have an architect working on design now for renovating Mary Hughes. So we don't need a new school there in that area, do we? Not at this point. Then you've got approved an intent to fund resolution for a new Eastern Area High School. We've spent several $1 million altogether now on East High School. So should our focus change to renovation instead of new builds is where I'm coming from. We've got an architect right now working on the design for East High School. We've got an architect working on a design for Mary Hughes and Indian Springs. And they'll come to us with 3 proposals later on this year.
For new builds? For new builds?
No, just for renovation.
Okay.
So with the plans for renovation, do we not need to modify our master facility plans where we're focusing on renovations now rather than looking at new buildings? If I asked Chuck today to go back and to his administrators at the building levels and ask them what other needs are there structural wise other than those 3 schools, Mary Hughes, Indian Springs, and East.
And Sullivan, we talked about that.
Yes, Sullivan, and we got the gym on the architect. We got an architect being employed for the gym at Sullivan, and we got the covered walkway at ESER 3. That's part of that. So when I asked Chuck to go back to all the schools except for Indian Springs, Mary Hughes, and East High School, and see what the needs are there structural wise. I'm not talking about wants, I'm talking about needs, to see if we missed something. We're going to look at Miller Perry to see why we didn't do the HVAC at Miller Perry, and I can't remember. Why did we not do HVAC at Miller Perry, Charlotte? Do you remember?
I think it's the cost initiated in it's just one section of it, you know what I'm saying? And I think it come down to the cost of it, that it was pretty high, okay?
So that may be an area that we have to look at too. So, but the point being long-term, let's try to have a plan of what we can do to make sure that our facilities stay up to date and well maintained. One of the biggest criticisms that I've had in 11 years I've been on board is maintenance of buildings. One of the biggest concerns that have been expressed here, maintenance of the buildings. Well, our buildings are getting to be in pretty good shape. Central Middle School, they're going to have a brand new HVAC. Sullivan Heights is going to have basically brand new HVAC. It's going to take 2 years to do it. Set up 3 chillers on top and HVAC units on top.
10 new chillers plus 8 rooftop units.
Right.
Will be replaced.
We've got new roofs on most of the buildings. Kettering, for all practical purposes, is a new building. It was built in 2012, opened up 2012. We are getting, I hope, the second building there on concession. Kettering, has that started yet, Jeremy?
No, sir, we're wrapping up the playground at Indian Springs and then we'll move to that.
Okay. So the bottom line is, my proposal is to see what other needs are out there to see if we missed something. We looked at the wish list that we all put together earlier this year on ESSER money, and I think we've touched all of them. There's probably some that we could do a little more on as far as maybe some renovations. And we can make this an action item at the next meeting if you want to. We can do it tonight. We can do whatever your desire is on this, but we don't need to forget this plan.
We need to wait till we get back from the principals what they need before we change it. See what they're asking for before
we can. I just wanted to try to get out there that we are not looking at new builds. It's not that we're looking mainly at renovations because we spent so much money on renovations now, it would not make sense to tear down Mary Hughes and build a new school. It wouldn't make sense to buy new land and do another school in the central zone and tear down what we put on HVAC at Indian Springs.
I thought we already axed the Indian Springs closing a while back, did we revote that, or we wasn't closing?
It's just saying,
Yeah, well, it's never been on this list here to close. It was on an original proposal as an option, but on this list right here, it was never on this list, or I couldn't find it. But it was on an original proposal as a possibility if we got rid of school choice, I think was the word that was used then. And so we know Indian Springs is open, but even at one point, we were talking about building another elementary school and closing Bluntville and Central Heights. Well, we closed Bluntville. Well, Central Heights is one of our newer schools, and it's in really good shape. Enrollment there is stable now, and so it appears that we have the facilities that would meet our needs. We just need to get them upgraded, maintenance-wise.
I'm trying to figure out, explain this to me.
Well, back in February of 2019, I presented this resolution, the bottom part of it, to the board, and they approved the changes. And what I did then was outline the East High School zone. The East High School zone is made up of East Middle School, Bluff City Elementary, Emmett Elementary, and Mary Hughes.
And so East is not on there because it's up here?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't have the high schools on there. I was trying to get the feeder schools on there.
Okay.
So there was a lot of discussion back then about rezoning students. Then Westridge High School zone is Central Middle and Sullivan Heights Middle. And then you've got 3 elementary schools feeding into the Central, and you've got 4 feeding into Sullivan Heights. And if you look at the map that's out here at the front, when you walk up that picture, it's really a good representation of what we've got. And if you look at the buildings listed here, now that we've done HVAC and now that we've done new roofs, we've got some buildings pretty good shape. Mary Hughes needs lots of things. Bill Perry may need more than what we've talked about, Charlie, I don't know. But Bill Perry was added on to back not too many years ago. It's before my time, but it's been worked on. And the other schools have either been renovated or added to recently. Or recently, I mean in the last 20 years.
Randall,
Yes.
down where it says fall 2020, shouldn't that also say replace or renovate Mary Hughes there as well? Or is this the old sheet?
Which one are you looking at? Yeah, it should have been on there, is it not?
No, I mean.
Yeah, okay. It just says replace.
Yeah.
It's supposed to say
I believe
renovate.
this was pulled from that old one,
Yeah,
but it should say that,
She
right?
pulled it, yeah.
Okay.
It should say replace or renovate, and I checked the minutes to make sure it's in the minutes, and it's in the minutes as replace or renovate.
It is, so we need to change that.
Yes.
Somebody.
It's on page 10, and it should say replace, renovate. But it would appear that with all the moves that we made with COVID money, that our intention is to renovate rather than replace any of our buildings.
I actually think I have one that reflects that, so
You
this
do?
made somebody may have just pulled it off an old one.
Christie pulled it off. And I was not going to even print that one because this one is, this one first came out in 2015. That's 8 years old. There's lots of changes. And, but it's here for reference.
And I'll do the same thing that Paul did a minute ago, so I'm gonna ask a hard question.
Okay.
It's not my zone, okay, so I'm not gonna sit here and ask, but the question I have to ask is, with the cost that we're getting back for some of the big renovation at Mary Hughes, is it not something that we need to actually look at, building a new school out there versus renovating and having $10 or $15 million in a 100-year-old school? And I'm fine with if that's all we want to do, but at least is it something to think about or not?
Well, I think it's something that you think about. But when the plan comes back for renovation and you put it out for bid and the costs come back in, I think at that point the board says, hey, that's too much for us. let's look at something else. And then you decide which hill you're gonna die on and I don't have an answer to it.
You also have the historical aspect out there that has some impact, you know, and even before you renovate it, you've got some.
Because it's in a historic district, which means everything has to go through that process, and I'm just, like I said, just asking the question.
I
so.
think it's a legitimate question, and, but when he comes back in, I think that's something that we've got to look at. And when the Indian Springs renovation comes in, we got wood beams in the floors, we got wooden floors. It may come in so high that you can say, we're just gonna live with it as it is, but at least we're gonna be cool because there's air conditioning installed, we've got a new roof, we're gonna be dry.
Because I remember one of the conversations at one point was right across the street from Mary Hughes, where we have that big open area there, that was a possibility of building either an annex or another school there.
There's enough property there.
So, I mean, I'm just as long as that's something we're thinking about, it's fine. If we want to spend it all on Mary Hughes, that's fine, or if we want to build right beside it. I'm not trying to relocate it or anything, it's just a question, so. Okay.
And there's no land near East High School to where you could even consider a new high school. I mean, that's why I said we need to say what it is, and even if you build a new high school, what are you going to do with the one you've already spent?
Well, Mr. Jones, I've had some thoughts on that. If we did do that, what I would think should be considered is that gymnasium is something we could not replicate, couldn't afford to build. So, and it's in good shape. So the rest of that academic part, we could consider doing something with some of that, because that's going to be an ongoing issue with HVAC and roofing. That roof, we spent $412,000. We're still, no, $1.2 million. We're paying $412,000 a year on it now. So that's something that just a matter of time. We're going to keep doing that. So if we was to do something on the permanent side of that, we wouldn't have to, you know, we wouldn't have to mess with that gymnasium. We could.
You're talking about the high school, or, I mean?
I'm talking about the high school now.
Okay, that's fine. I was trying to. Okay.
You're talking about renovations, right?
I'm talking about if you wanted to build a more permanent structure, you could replace those two circles that are not the gym and build another academic area and leave the gym, which, you know, you wouldn't have to price the property, you would have to build the gym. So you wouldn't have near the money.
But you got the problem of what do you do with your students while you're doing that? Because that's a 2-year process.
Well, we did that one other time, you know.
And
we could build in front of it,
and
or, you know, we've got, we could add, build in front of it, move the parking lot, or we could do what we did back when the roof was messed up and had the mold.
How much do we have on science labs now?
I just think those circles was a bad design.
And they went all the way to Colorado to find that design.
So,
Yeah.
equipment alone, we have.
That's the
That was
truth.
before,
That's the truth.
before marijuana sleep.
We're right at 900,000 for just the 4 science rooms.
Okay, 900,000 for the 4 science rooms right now. So
I can't hear, I'm sorry.
we've got 900,000 that we're spending right now for the science rooms. 4 science rooms.
4 science rooms.
At these, so we definitely don't want to spend money and put something in there and then turn around in 2 years.
If we're gonna see that through, I mean, if that does.
That's out for bid now. Right.
It's been awarded,
It's been
they're
awarded.
starting,
Cool.
if they haven't already started.
Yeah.
And they did that for 900,000.
Those 4 rooms, yes.
That's great.
And compare that to the addition we wanted to build on in the middle school a few years ago.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good price.
And we've also spent, the money is coming in for the new $1 million that goes to each high school.
Innovative.
Innovative. It's already designed, right?
Another million.
That's another $1 million that we've got dedicated to East. So it's one of those things that, you know, you've gone down the path almost too far.
I'm not saying it's the best idea, I'm just saying if we did do it,
Right.
we wouldn't have to replace that gymnasium.
I just don't want us to get into making no decision in the future and the building's starting to deteriorate. And that's what's happened a few times, that we've kicked the can down the road too much. And not we as here, but as a unit.
love the idea of a master plan. And I think it's something, keeping it going, because we're running to the end of it, so.
Well, I think we've done a good job with ESSER money in doing some things structurally that needed to be done. And if we just had a little more, we could do some more things. But we've done a good job with that. But it's also worked into the master plan. It's actually helped us develop the master plan. Maybe not the design, but think about this, and we may put it on the agenda next month for a vote, unless you want to vote on something tonight. I just wanted to get it out there so that we're not forgetting about it.
And I guess I would like to add, for the East Zone, in that when this was all put together and when we were looking at building Westridge and all that, we did want to be fair and equitable across the board. So I appreciate everything that's been put into Mary Hughes and East. And whether we renovate or whether we rebuild, I wouldn't argue that point. The point I would argue is, I do think that upgrades need to be done in the East Zone, comparable to the upgrades and or builds in the other zones. That's my only comment. Did you hear that, Mike?
I did.
I don't know that I can repeat it. Basically, I said, when we were talking about building Westridge, and it was all put into place as to we would build or renovate in the east end, that at this point, I don't know if I would argue one way or the other, build or renovate. However, I do think that we need to look at something that's comparable on the east end that has been on the other end. And again, I'm not arguing one way or the other. I'm just saying, I do think it needs to be in the forefront. I do think we need to be talking about it, because I do think all students throughout the county deserve equitable things.
And the only way you're going to get this is that we take it to the county commission as a resolution.
I
for
said that
funding.
loud and clear, didn't I?
And because that's where the money came from for
Exactly.
The other schools. And if you have three proposals that go forward, I mean, three plans, I think East High School has to be way at the top. I think Mary Hughes has to be at the top. If we decide we're going to spend that kind of money for an elevator and for HVAC, then we basically committed to renovating Mary Hughes. HVAC was over $1 million, I believe, maybe. Anybody remember? I started to say 2, but I thought that sounded too. Okay. But it was significant. But if we could get some feedback from the principals to see if we missed anything, now, we're not talking about something cosmetic. We're talking about structural things that might be needed.
2.2.
2.2 for the elevator.
No, that was just, that was just the HVAC.
Yeah. So just the HVAC.
And roofing and that.
Okay. What was the elevator at Bluntwell? Y'all's new?
I think the 9 is just, because in this 90,000.
90?
Probably more than that, 'cause they built that whole structure around it.
That's perfect.
It's really close.
Yeah.
It is 3
Yeah, it
million.
is, but not even count for HVAC, so even before
The
that.
elevator was
Thank you. I see that.
780.
Keeping it close.
Oh, no, we're saying for the one over at Bluntwell.
I thought I was 600
But
Yeah, I
it's
don't know.
still on the same line.
They find it someplace.
Is it,
I think they may cut it out.
is it acceptable then to put it back on the agenda for next month? And by then, Chuck can have something back from the principals concerning, and again, this is mainly structural things that we would be talking about here, not maintenance issues of paint and stuff like that. And if there's different board Sherman, they can carry that ball down the road on when it comes time. So that's all I've got on my comments on that.
And Randall, I've taken some trips around the schools, east and central, middle. A lot of things that paint would really make a huge difference.
Yes.
Some of the doors, some of the old metal doors, it's been there since the 60s in some places. Some things like that wouldn't be that costly, so.
How's that, and I've seen that in schools too, is that on the school to paint all that, or does your area take care of it? Is there any way we can get that on the schedule?
Yeah.
Like say every,
It is every 7 years or something like that.
yeah, I can't,
Or if I,
yeah, I'd say I don't think.
That's
We
not
only
bad.
got 2 painters.
So they didn't
Every day,
find
there's
it.
an order come in for this classroom, or this teacher moves, and this classroom needs paint before we move kid, you know what I'm saying?
But see, I thought the
That's one thing
rooms
I
like
think
that, I
BOE
thought the
does a lot
teachers.
better, because it's like they really.
I was
walk that
thinking more
stuff.
hallways, is what I was thinking. But I've heard all the teachers, I thought, they said they was the ones that
But
paid
if we have it on some sort of schedule.
The painting jobs I'm talking about probably are too big for us. In my opinion, they're massive jobs. If you get a chance sometime, go, I've been to East and Central, but go Central around the back of the stands and, you know, the press box and some of those things at East, some of the doors and stuff. This is a job, it would take our 2 guys 100 years. I mean, it's just that's a lot of work.
or you can go to work on Saturday as a principal and have the Sullivan County jailers come, can you not, Ms. Buckles?
Absolutely.
We did that at Central, yeah, we did that at Central.
And you can do that every Saturday for about 3 months. From 8 to 4 every Saturday. And
I
you
guess
get
I was
some
thinking
paint
always,
days.
where he's talking about the
I did
gym,
that.
you got to go to the game.
Well,
I don't know if you.
Lots of places.
Yeah.
And if you go in, the schools that's got those drop ceilings, they're yellow now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They just need to be right, you know, that needs to be.
Makes a huge difference, yeah.
And ceiling tile is a cheap thing for what it gives you.
Yeah, for the money you spend, it's gonna be a great value. I've got probably a couple thousand pictures I've taken this summer, just preparing.
Well, maybe we need an overall maintenance plan of things that need to be done that, really be on your part. If we had that, as we start working on the budget for next year, I think we can look at it.
The last big extra, we painted all the fascia around Holston, remember that about 3 years ago?
It's been more than 3 years ago.
Yeah, probably has. Yeah.
I'll tell you another thing that would make a huge difference. In some of the schools, it's got that chain link fence that's become really old, it's rusty. It's just a bad look when you drive by.
But if you've got a list of things that need to be done, as some money becomes available, you can look at it and maybe go for it. Just like we looked at that list today of the wish list, and honestly, we touched everything that was on the list that we put together, somebody put together last year.
I'm not sure.
But the board had some input into that. We asked for things. Anything else? Close out. It'll take more than 91 minutes.
We got it.
I believe there are some things down here in the break area, and we'll be downstairs at 6:30.